My guest today is Chris Carter. Chris is one of the three founders of a new brewery coming to Columbus. Honest Friend Brewing Company opens in October. At time of filming this, it's early September. Honest Friend is in the Steelton Village area on Columbus's south end. It's near places like the Fort, if you're familiar with that. Chris himself is the former head brewer at Seventh Son Brewing Company. Before there's any annoying comments on the video portions of this, Chris wore a mask because his wife is about to have a kid and he doesn't want to get her sick. In this episode, we talk about what you can expect at this new brewery, the culture, the vibe, and the beers, and why Chris and his other founders decided to stay here and build a brewery here in Columbus. All that and more on this chronicle of the Columbus Chronicle.
I can't get enough stress in my life, let me tell you what.
Yeah, no joke. It's opening a brewery and then you have a month and then you're going to be a dad.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So it's like, good luck, go do everything, and
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Okay, no, so to start off, tell me about, we'll get into Honest Friend Brewery because I'm super interested in this. I think it's going to be the new, when this goes out, it'll be the newest brewery coming to Columbus around that time.
that's what it seems like.
Yeah. Who are you? Tell me your story, Chris.
So I'm Chris Carter. I've been in Columbus since 2008. I moved down here from the Cleveland area, went to school at Ohio State, got a degree in civil engineering, and just never really became an engineer after college. After school, I was playing in a band, doing a lot of touring and stuff like that. And when that started winding down and I started trying to figure out what I wanted to really do for a career after that, brewing seemed like something that was so cool. And in what would have been 2015, there was 10, 12 breweries in Columbus. I emailed every single one of them and I'm like, hey, I don't have any experience. I'm a smart kid. This seems like something I'd be really good at. If you want to give me a shot, I'd love to kind of get my hands dirty in this industry. And, Seventh Son just happenstance said, we have an opening. We need somebody. We'll give you a shot. And, after maybe 8 months of working there and a lot of pestering on my part, they let me write my first recipe. And I got to brew it, and it was a hit. And now the rest is history.
What was that first brew that you
The
did?
very first recipe I ever wrote was for a goza, which is just a very light, tart, simple beer. A little bit of fruit, a little bit of sourness. There weren't a lot of places doing anything with sour beer in the city at all, whether it was kettle sour or traditional sours. And it seems looking back, it seems like such an obscure style for a very first beer to pick. It's hey, I want to do this really weird niche thing. But it turned out really well, and I started kind of getting a little bit more responsibility at the brewery after that. A few years later, Seventh Son's expanding and growing. I got moved into the head brewer position. And it was, kind of a supervisory role over the production area, writing more recipes, helping out with expanding packaging operations and stuff like that. And after 10 years of, doing all of that, that's when we really decided to dig in and try and do this on our own.
Yeah, and what is this? Tell me.
Right.
This.
So,
Yeah.
Me and my old college roommate had been talking about starting a brewery. I mean, since I ever got a job at Seventh Son, he's like, "Oh man, that's so cool. I would love to do something like that." So we've been talking about it for so long, but in 2020 specifically, when everybody had infinite time on their hands, uh, he called me up and he's like, "Let's just sit down and talk about what this could possibly look like, us starting a brewery." And, he came over and we wrote down every idea we've ever had on what we love about craft beer and craft breweries and what we think we could do different, what we think we might be able to do better, what we think would be a perfect situation. And we tossed around tons and tons of ideas, and we really kind of started developing a business plan. Um, and neither of us are like super artistic. So Will said, I have a friend, Kayla from college. Her art's amazing. It's super unique. She works for IBM right now, and like not only is she an artist, but she could probably help us build a cohesive like brand strategy and stuff like this. Yeah, like just bring all of this together. So we called her up basically, and we kind of dumped all of our ideas on her, and we're like, do something with this, make it look nice. And, immediately Kayla returned all of this artwork and, like typefaces for our logo and all of this stuff. And it looked so cool and so cohesive. And she's like, I can come to Columbus, do some branding exercises with you guys, uh, and like really kind of hammer this thing out into something that you could present to people and turn into a business. So we brought her down, and, after like a week of working with her, we were like, this this is a company. This is a brand. This makes sense. Like, this is presentable. It's awesome. And we, with all the good work that she did, and she seemed so excited about the project too, we were like, why don't we just bring you on as a third partner, and like let's, the three of us, let's build this thing together. So by 2021, we had a team, we had a brand, we had all these ideas. We started raising private capital. Uh, we found a fair amount of investment money, enough that we could go to a bank and be like, "Hey, we have a little bit of collateral. Like, we want to do this huge project." And like it just started going and going and going from there. We found a spot to lease on the south end of the city. Um, we built everything out with an architect firm. We got ready to go. And, by 2022, I think that was the first time we were really ready to like break ground on this project. And that's crazy because it seems so long ago. But there were some complications with the space and with some funding from our landlords that we were waiting on. And the space that we were going into had other units that just hadn't been leased yet. And they were going to be doing improvements on the space. And they were like, you know what? We did all of this work. It doesn't make sense to do it here for everybody, but we have another building right next door, literally the next door neighbor. They're like, we can guarantee that this space would work and work really well for you. And, looking back, it was way more optimal. It's a standalone building. We have our own spot. We're not in this unit or anything like that. We're going to be really close to the fort, which is, this big complex in Steelton Village that houses, a furniture maker, a kiln room, a yoga studio, recording studios, photographers, just so many people working at it, really cool creatives. It's going to be right next to where City Winery is building kind of their amphitheater bar area right now. And they were like, let's bring you into the complex that already exists in Steelton. And, as frustrating as it is to stop a project and kind of redesign it and, start over in that aspect, it was like, all right, this feels better. This makes sense. And, it took a long time to redesign it and get construction going again, but we did in the beginning of this year. It's been going all year. And now we're, 2 months out from opening.
So this has been an idea for a while, and this has actually been in the works then for essentially what it sounds close to 5 years, 4-ish years.
Yeah.
I'd love to get in your head mentally. How is that like when you're working on a project this big over that course of time? What's that like?
S- Just from a project standpoint, there's so many times where you're pulling your hair out and you're waiting for things to happen. Maybe it's like a permit to clear or something like that, or a bank to close a loan, and that is dependent on so many things that are outside of your control at some point. So there's just so much waiting sometimes and so much stress and anxiety. And then when things do click, they happen so fast, and sometimes things just fall in line. Like from the time that we started construction till up until now, it seems like none of us have had a chance to even catch our breath because we're doing so many things to get our liquor license, get the Department of Ag in there, to get all of these things squared away to build this business. And now things are moving so fast that it's so hard to keep up. But yeah, there's there's the balancing act of you don't exactly know when you can leave job A to go to job B and stuff like that. And I am so fortunate to have worked at Seventh Son for so long. They were so kind. I told them, in 2021 that, "Hey, I wanna do this project. I wanna do this thing. Will you allow me to continue kind of, like, working here and being an operator in the same way that I am while I'm fleshing out this project?" And they let me do that, which was so amazing and, very kind of them. So, and there were months where I'd be like, "Alright, in 6 months, it's pretty likely that I'm gonna leave," and then it was a year later, and I'm like, "Hey, in 6 months, it's pretty likely I'm gonna leave." It's a year later, and, I didn't even leave that job until, like, kind of the beginning of 2025. I told them in 2021 that, like, "Hey, I'm gonna be out the door in 6 months." Um, so I was very fortunate they let me, stay for as long as they did and, continue to brew and work and everything like that. Um, but the stress of just, like, when can the next thing happen, and can I survive until then? But yeah, we're very lucky to have, a lot of people on our side helping us out through this, so that helps with a lot of the stress.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the location, um, cool spot. I
Oh,
looked
yeah.
up the address, like, where you guys are gonna be. Cool spot. And that area seems, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of like a brewery desert too. Like, I don't think there's much in terms of other breweries in that area. Was that part of the reasoning behind the spot, or was that just an area you guys liked, or was it just the stars aligned for that space? How did that work?
So, when we found that spot in South High, there were definitely specific areas in the city where we were looking where, yes, we wanted to pick a spot where we weren't gonna be right next door to another brewery or something like that. I feel like that's really important. Um, but also we we were really just looking for an area that we could come in and help kind of build in a way that, I don't know. There's a lot of places where you can go in and there's so much stuff here already and you're just trying to fit a vibe or something like that. I think Steelton Village in Columbus is really unique because there is a lot of open space there. There is a lot of room to kind of create what you want to create down there. Justin McAllister, the guy who owns the fort, um, saw that so long ago, and he's like, "You know what? There's so much opportunity here. There's all of these empty warehouses that we can do such cool things with, and there's just so many spots to develop and all of these really great things." Um, so Steelton seemed really unique to us because it's like, man, like, we can make this whatever we want. There's just so much space and so much freedom, and that really drew us to that area, and, with what was already going on at the fort with all of these creative people coming together and working in one place, it just seemed like such a good fit for our brand and kind of the feeling that we were trying to promote with Honest Friend, where it was this, we're a beer company, but we want to have this great art and this great brand behind it, and we want it to be something that, is a memorable aesthetic, and we want to be as creative as it possibly can be. It's like, "Oh, this is the place to do it. This makes sense." Um, so even when that first lease, didn't work out, we moved, we were like, "You know what? Like, we still really wanna be in this area. We really wanna do this because this is cool." And, I'm so glad that we did too because this new building is amazing, and the work that the construction team's done is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that spot in the city, I think, is just really unique, and it is there's so many plans for, like, the next 5 years and other spots besides Honest Friends, so it's cool that we're kinda getting in on the ground floor as other things are starting to move down there as well.
Nice. What's the name Honest Friend? Where'd that come from?
So, originally, me and Will had tossed around the idea of Cromwell Brewing, named after this kid, Cromwell Dixon, a Columbus citizen from a very long time ago, very young kid, who is a little bit famous in the city. He built this dirigible, this like little blimp, and went on a flight in the city that unfortunately did not end well. Ended in a big crash, and this kid died very, very young. He's actually buried in one of the oldest cemeteries in the city. And we're like, this is a really interesting story in Columbus that maybe not a lot of people know about. And Cromwell is a, a cool name on its own, but we can kind of do some aesthetics with this dirigible and this aviator and this thing. And we were tossing around all these ideas. And Cromwell as a brand, we were a little bit worried about because there's a few other restaurants and other things just in the nation that kind of use that name. We didn't want to be like poking a bear or anything like that. So we took that to Kayla as an idea, and she's like, well, this guy can be like kind of a character. You can use this artwork, but like, let's think of something else. And we tossed around a billion ideas for names. I actually came up with Honest Friend one night playing around with a Dungeons and Dragons NPC character generator online. That just, because when you're thinking of names for brands, beers, band names, everything like that, like you just start to do weird things and you're looking through dictionaries for like words that pop out at you. And when I saw Honest Friend, that was something that immediately just like clicked with me. And I was like, that kind of fits. And it's one of those things that like it means something as soon as you hear it, but it also like doesn't mean anything to us, but it also fits so well. So when I tossed it to Will and Kayla, they were like, yeah, that could actually work. Because people ask us all the time, like, who's the honest friend? And we're like, well, technically nobody. But it's just so funny that that's where it came from. But it just, it's one of those things that you see it and it just feels right.
I like it. Tell me about that you kinda mentioned, like, the culture and the kind of vibe you wanna create in the space. What if someone when you guys open, if someone comes in, what do you want that experience to feel like for them that first day?
That is a really good question. One of the things that Will and I talked about really early on was, what is a brewery for a community? Like what makes breweries so different from like a restaurant or a bar or, any other space where people gather? And we both recognized really early on that these, tap rooms in the city aren't just, bars for people to go enjoy drinks, but the ones that do really well and succeed are hubs for the community that they're in. They're spaces, they're the third spaces that people need where they can just go and sit and enjoy themselves, even if they're not necessarily there to drink or anything like that. It's a meetup point. So we wanted to be really focused on our tap room being a comfortable place for people to just relax, enjoy themselves, and stay a while. So we did put a lot of focus on making the tap room a very pleasant and comfortable place to be. We didn't want harsh lighting or industrial seating and make it feel like, a cafeteria or anything like that. We want it to be really comfortable. So, um, when somebody comes in for the very first time, we want them to notice the plants and the natural light. We put a ton of garage doors in this building so that when it's nice out, we can basically open up like the whole north and east wall of the building and make it feel like the inside's the outside. And, all of these things are just kind of promoting the idea of this is a good, comfortable, safe space that, somebody wants to come in and relax in. And that whole idea really plays into the types of beers that we're making too. While we're not specializing in like just lagers or just IPAs or anything like that, we are focusing on session beers. So these kind of low ABV styles that, you can have more than one without getting wasted,
Not that
It's
9.4% IPA?
exactly. And it's just that encouragement of sit down and stay a while. Um, so the first couple beers we're brewing are light lagers and, light pale ales. And we're sitting in that 3.5 to 5% alcohol range. And that just totally plays into that whole comfort comfort aspect. So we do want people to feel relaxed when they come in. That's a big part of what we're trying to do.
I like it, and I love that you hit on the hub and the third space sort of aspect because I think when people are building out things, that's something, they I don't think they miss, but, like, sometimes maybe that gets lost, is that ability to just kind of talk with people and gather, and you don't even have to drink, but just being in a space where there's things happening.
Right.
I love that. How do you it's just kind of a big question, so I know there's not one easy answer, but from the idea to the raising money, how does that work for a brewery?
Oh my goodness. That is such a great question. As somebody who and I feel like this resonates with just about everybody. I feel like there's very few people that are comfortable asking for money, especially large sums of money from complete strangers, from friends, from family members. And uh, it was instrumental to have Kayla there, A, to just build this out so it looked super professional and covered every aspect of the business. So we had all these great talking points. But learning how to sell sell yourself and sell these ideas and basically not only tell people this is something that we believe in, something that we know is worth doing and something that we know is going to do well, but also here's why we're qualified to do it. And like you have to learn to like toot your own horn a little bit and talk yourself up and just and really pitch things with confidence and there's a massive learning curve to that. Um But yeah, it's developing your ideas to the absolute fullest and then just starting to get comfortable reaching out to every single person you know and saying, "I'm doing this really cool thing. Do you want to be a part of it? And here's 100 reasons why you should." Uh, 'Cause yeah, it did take a while to really figure that out. And, once we did get a few investors on board, it's really nice to say, "Look, we have some people that really believe in this idea that aren't just us." Um, and, the private investment, talking to these individuals is one thing, but then going to a bank and saying, "Hey, we have a little bit of investment. We want the SBA to back this. We want a little bit more." And the bank's like, "Your story is great, but show me on paper down to the decimal point of everything you could possibly think of that this could work." And then now you're learning how to, it's like business school for somebody that's never been to business school. And I've, crunched numbers for weeks on end. And, uh, for a bank to prove that this is the most feasible thing in the world, um, that was a whole nother experience to just learn and figure out. But
I mean, it sounds like
you
it's
learn a lot.
yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like it's helpful though that you're really, a quick learner from going, like, engineering to a band to a head brewer, so to doing this,
Do
so
everything. That's what I say. Yeah, try everything, do everything. But yeah, just the amount that we've had to learn just to get to this point is, insane, but totally worth it.
yeah, and you have to care, I think, a lot about the community, which brings me to my next question. To, like, do something like this and to invest in an area, um, you said you're originally from Cleveland area, whereabouts?
Hudson, Ohio. It's like right between Akron and Cleveland.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up in that area too. I moved
Oh,
that way.
cool.
I'm also a transplant, like a lot of people around here. Um, what made you decide to stay here and build a business here? And like you said, kid on the way, start a family here.
So moving down to Columbus for school was amazing. It's nice to get out of your hometown, even if you're staying in Ohio. It's moving to a city, moving to a new spot. And after being in school here for 4 years, I really did love this city, and I still do. But what really tethered me at the time of college was playing music and being in this band and being in a specific niche in this community. The music scene still is so interesting and thriving. And in like, the 2010s, the indie scene in this city was so cool and it was such a wonderful thing to be a part of. And I was like, man, I wanna like be in this scene and thrive here as long as I possibly can. And even after that, when I still wanted to do creative things and I was, getting into brewing and starting like that, getting in with a company like Seventh Son was such an interesting and cool opportunity, and watching them grow and helping them grow and learning all these things I did with them, I was like, "I could do this for a really long time. This is such a cool company. These are cool people. They're doing really cool things." And I love all of these aspects of being at a brewery, being ingrained in the community, doing creative things, making creative things, but also being in a spot that brings the community in and just kind of, helps people and generates just positivity for everything that's around it. So, Columbus always had something to pull me in and say, what you want, what you need, and what you're feeling that's really good is right here. And it's, you don't need to look far to like really feel a sense of belonging and that you're doing something neat and that people are appreciating you. Um, so like I've never had this crazy itch that I'm like, "Yeah, there's nothing left for me here. I gotta get out of this city." There's always been something here that I'm like, this is the next cool thing that I can do, and people want this and they love it and they appreciate it. Um, and to that, the South End, and specifically that Steelton area, it just felt like such a good next step for us because it's like, I want to generate uh, a place that can build this community and a place that people can come to? And are there any areas that could use this more than others? Like where is a solid third space? Maybe like where's somewhere that doesn't have that many options? And Steelton, just being down there, I was like, this is so awesome. This is so great. This would be a really good place to just have another anchor in the city, another hub, another place for people to come to. Um, so yeah, it just really builds into always having the next thing, right in front of you.
Yeah. I I was telling, a friend this the other day, it's like, I love driving down, like, the whether it's South Side, whether it's West Broad, wherever it might be, and just seeing all these, like, spaces and thinking, like, "This could be a hub. This could be just, like, these" there's a lot of community hubs already there, but, like, just seeing, like, an empty building, I just love looking at that thinking, like, "What could be there? Like, what is that opportunity?" And I think that's the cool thing about Columbus is there's so many people who look through that lens of, like, there's opportunity. I have to ask a complete pivot of a question. I need to know, where can I find the music, your music that you played in the band for? I have to I'm so intrigued.
So in college, I played bass and I sang in an indie band called Indigo Wild. And our music's still on like Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora and stuff like that. So you can always listen to that. And we were a band for almost 8 years, as far as, active playing and recording, and, we even released, like, a full-length album as early as, like, a few years ago, something that we finished and sat on for the longest time. Um, I played in another band called Noble Vices for, 5 or 6 years, kind of overlapping during that time too while I was also brewing, and that music's also out and all over the place. But, oh, that's so funny. But yeah, you can find it on
Yeah,
Spotify
we
and
have to give it
give
a
that a
listen. Maybe
listen.
mix a few of those songs into the music if you're playing it through no, that's funny. Um, Another kind of follow-up question. During your time at Seventh Son, and I also wanna ask this of your beers now, but during your time at Seventh Son, um, favorite beer you've created to date?
Ooh, that that's a really good question. Um, One of kind of the most ubiquitously well-loved beers, was this might have been my second recipe ever. Me and a friend of mine who still works at Seventh Son, Billy, we created a imperial chocolate brownie stout called Fox and the Stout, and just a big tastes like a big cup of chocolate syrup, and it's, almost 10% alcohol, and it's dessert. It's so good. They're still making it. It's a nice seasonal winter release for them, but that beer just crushes on all aspects. Um, that or uh, what's really cool about brewing for somebody that loves beer is there's always an opportunity to just make the beer that you want in that moment. And there was one summer a few years ago that I just wanted like a super orangey, just crushable summer ale, and I couldn't find anything on the shelves that was like satisfying that. And I'm like, I'm just gonna brew this, and I made a beer with such a silly name. It was called a sword that can cut through anything, kind of like a a dungeon weapon or something like that, but it was this like 5% just like orange zest blast to the senses. And it was the beer that I wanted that summer. And, for like the 2 months that it was on tap, it's all I drank after I made it. And it's still one of my like favorites from back then as well. That was also one of the beers that really got me thinking about lower ABV session beers. And it's like, man, I want something that I can drink all summer long. So I should probably reel in the ABV on this one.
Yeah.
And playing around with those flavors and keeping that low and a little bit subdued was kind of a fun experiment that led me down a path that, is really emulating what we're trying to do at Honest Friend.
I wish I could do that, like, if I was craving, like, a beer or a drink to just be able to make
Like,
it.
what can I
Like,
make right
what can
now,
I make
right?
right now to satisfy that? That's awesome. Of the stuff you're making now, give us I know you mentioned that they're sessions and they're lighter, they're from lagers, but, like, what are some of the do you have any names picked out on some of these, or are they all, like what can people expect to see when they come in first day?
So from a naming standpoint, I think Will and I have a book of 500 potential beer names that, every midnight, and we'll text each other like, "Oh, dude, what about this? What about this for a beer name?" Um, None of the beers that I have in production have official names that, like, this is what we've hammered out, this is what it's gonna be. And it's funny, it's kinda like being in a band when you write a song, you have all these super goofy working titles that, like, you would never tell anybody because 'cause they're just so weird and nobody would get it. Uh, so we have, there's working names for all of these things that don't make any sense, that absolutely won't make the final cut. Um, but the first couple styles that we're gonna have on draft are gonna be a light pale ale, so, just 4%, super crushable, all year round pale ale, and then because we are opening in October, I have a light oatmeal porter that, is gonna be satisfying kind of that dark beer, bready, kinda cinnamony, much more fall vibe. Yep. And then every season, I have, a different light lager that we're gonna do. So the, Czech Pilsner is gonna be the, fall lager. Lagers take a significant, amount of time to brew compared to ales just because they ferment colder. Things just take longer to ferment, to clean up, get the flavors that you want. So hopefully that one makes it into the fall repertoire and doesn't have to get pushed into, winter. Um, but those are some of the first styles that we're gonna be doing. We're also gonna be offering seltzers. And Honest Friend has an A1A license, which means that we can serve liquor and wine. And very fortunately for us, because opening's gonna be budding up to like right around the time that I can start brewing other people's beer as well. We have 12 tap handles, and there's absolutely no way I'm gonna have 12 beers ready to go by the time that we open. So I will be having some guest taps for, friends that have helped me over the last decade. There's so many amazing breweries in Columbus that I've got to not just, visit and enjoy their beer, but they've helped me develop this business, or I've brewed collaborations with them at Seventh Son. It's the brewing community is so cool in Columbus because, yeah, we're all operating in the same scene and we're all sharing a customer base, but it's such a friendly industry, you know? You got your neighbor you can go borrow a cup of sugar from, you got a brewery down the street you can borrow a bag of grain from, and it's cool. Everybody's friendly and wants to help out and wants to see everybody succeed and wants to grow the industry. So, I got lots of friends that, are gonna fill some holes in our draft up front as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exciting. And being plugged into that scene as the head brewer at Seventh Son that's cool. I'm excited for you guys. I might have missed this. I think you already said it, but when's the official open date again?
Oh, right. So, if all goes as planned with construction, we should be open by mid-October. So, uh, honestly, like, we're gonna open up our doors as soon as possible. Like, as soon as the city says, "You're good," we'll be ready to go. So there might be a slew of soft opening dates where if you're ever driving around down there and you see the garage doors open, stop in. But it's looking like probably that second or third week of October is going to be the big grand opening, the heavily advertised opening.
That's super exciting. That's super exciting. A few more questions, and then I'll leave it to you to give the plugs. Anything you wanna shout out, with Honest Friend opening up soon. I like asking this question. I think it's super relevant to you since you are about to open a new brewery. When you look at the future of this city, what excites you? What concerns you?
Ooh, that's an amazing question. Columbus, when you like look at this city compared to all the other cities in the United States, we're told all the time this is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, and you can see it everywhere because you have these kind of cookie cutter 4-story apartment complexes that are going up everywhere, and that sprawl is starting to spread out, and it's amazing that we're getting even more people and more talent and just more things coming into this city, and I wanna see this city grow and grow and grow and keep thriving and be, you know, prosperous, and I love that, and I know that it's gonna keep happening, and I I'm really excited for that, and that means, big things for the brewing industry too, because more people brings, more customers and more people that wanna help us, um and I'm really hoping that this city can find a way to balance that massive influx of people with not only maintaining a good culture in the city, like what we already have, but also things like affordable housing and not getting lost in this big luxury build out for all these luxury people that are coming in. Because we still need places for everybody to live where everybody can afford it. Um, One of the really cool things happening on the South Side is there are a lot of um, housing complexes being built, but a lot of them are marked as affordable housing complexes, which is great. There's one right across the 104, stone's throw from us, that's just about to start leasing. And one of the projects that they're doing, even right in Steelton, across the street from us, which is slated to, start construction in the beginning of next year, is another affordable housing project. So love to see that. It's great. This city's growing. It's going to be expanding a lot towards the south. So we're really happy to be down there for that. Um, but yeah, I want to make sure that we're focused on sustaining everything that's already here in this city and all the great things that Columbus already has to offer as we continue to expand and continue to grow.
Yeah, love that. Favorite places to I feel like I know the answer is you're gonna say, like, Seventh Son and gonna be honest, friend. Besides those 2, because, those are 2 givens.
Right.
Favorite places to eat, drink, hang out in the city?
Ooh, okay. Um, then I would say big shout out to Nocterra in Powell. Some friends of mine own and run that place, and they do an absolutely fantastic job. Great beer, great vibes. Derive in Clintonville, awesome, awesome beer. I've got to brew a few collabs with those dudes as well. Their hazies are top tier. Gamut, as far as lagers in the city, they absolutely, like, can't be touched. Their beer is just so freaking good, and their space is so cool. Um, and they're them and, Parsons North are probably 2 of the closest breweries to where Honest Friend's gonna be too. So if I'm borrowing a cup of sugar, I'm probably going to those guys. Um, Gamut's food is so good as well. Um Some of my just being in the city for what is it, like, almost 20 years now, 17 years now. Um, there's so many places that I love that have, like, come and gone as well, but, just in memoriam, shout out to the Levy in the Shortener North, some of the best Creole food I've ever had, it was so good. Junior's Tacos sustained me through college, the taco truck in, Victorian Village. Um Yeah, those were some of my favorite places. Those are some of my favorite places as far as those breweries go too. But, I mean, there's a fantastic spot that opens up in Columbus, like, every single week. Our food scene's incredible, and if you keep your thumb on the pulse, and you just go and explore. Rose's Donuts is a spot on High Street in Clinton Village that just opened up that I've gone to like 2 weekends in a row now, and it's slamming. There's just so much good food in this city. Good places to drink.
I agree.
Explore it.
That great call to action there at the end. Final plug. Where can people find the brewery? Where can people find you? Any shout outs?
Yeah, so, Honest Friend, it's 2112 South High Street. We're opening up in mid-October. Uh, Honest Friend Brewing is our Instagram handle, so please follow us so you can stay up to date on what we're doing and how things are coming. You can also see, Kayla's awesome artwork and see how that's tying in with our brand. We have all of these characters, and they have a story that's evolving as the brewery's evolving too, so you can follow along with that. Um, it's so cool to see her artwork intertwine with what we're doing. So please follow along there. Um, yeah, and then get ready because 2 months out, we're gonna be open and ready to go.
I'm excited for it. I'll be there. I will be there this year at some point. I can't wait.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.